there, this is Dr. Anna Maria Helt here with Osada Natural Health and my sidekicks in the background, Milo and Girly, that you can't see at the moment. So I had posted up a video that I labeled as chickweed, which is a great medicinal and edible plant, but miscopied it, so it had nothing to do with chickweed, and I deleted it. So here is my new and improved chickweed video that's actually about chickweed. Stellaria media, a very useful, nutritious, weedy plant found in a lot of places here in North America and elsewhere. One of its old names was actually passerina. It used to be fed to caged birds, and passerine is a name for different types of songbirds. Some people also call it chickenweed as well. So very nutritious poultry feed. So very common plant, common volunteer in gardens and greenhouses. This used to show up in a greenhouse on the farm I lived at previously. It has not shown up in my garden where I am now, but that might be because of specifically where I live. Kind of an intensely sunny, high elevation town. But you'll see this along streams and such in shadier parts of the area where I live, the Four Corners area. You want to make sure that you don't confuse chickweed with Scarlet Pimpernell. So chickweed, Stellaria media here on the right, and Scarlet Pimpernell and Agalus arvensis on the left. Their leaves can actually look quite similar in appearance and in arrangement. And both plants can kind of be sort of stringy, creeping plants along the ground, growing in similar places. The difference is obvious when you look at the blooms, right? Scarlet Pimpernell is got much different flowers than chickweed does. They're more scarlet-ish or orangey, whereas chickweeds are white, and the flower structures are also completely different. Chickweed, in addition, if you look at the stalks, and you can't really see it so much in this photo, but if you look at the stems, there is a line of hairs that runs down the stems on one side. Other herbalists I've seen have referred to this as a mohawk. So that is another way to distinguish chickweed. And also chickweed will have kind of a rubber bandy sort of structure in terms of the stem. And what I mean by that is if you grab the stem gently and gently pull it apart, it's kind of stretchy. So yet another distinguishing factor for chickweed when it is not blooming, and you want to make sure that you don't instead accidentally harvest the toxic Scarlet Pimpernel that has cardiac glycosides in it. So chickweed has a whole bunch of traditional uses. I've only used it for certain things, but for example, there is an old wives' remedy where chickweed was used to help bring down excess weight. And I'll be honest, I'm always skeptical when a site starts moving into, miraculous herbs and supplements for weight loss. But this is one of the traditions with chickweed, and there's a little bit of science to support this that comes from mice. Now again, be skeptical because what happens in mice doesn't necessarily reflect what happens in people. But in mouse models of obesity, either induced by excessive progesterone administration or by feeding them a so-called cafeteria diet, very strong methanol-based extracts of chickweed given in high doses were able to counter to some extent the obesity induced by either the hormone or the diet. Now, keep in mind, we would never use in us herbs and methanol. Methanol is toxic. So already, the methodology may not be relevant to the real world, but still interesting. And there's speculation that different components of chickweed may have an impact on metabolic rate, and burning, maybe having a slowing effect on lipid and starch digestive enzymes, maybe having an impact on appetite or absorption of fats in the gut. Who knows? But interesting nevertheless. Now, again, be skeptical. One herbal site I was looking at said that, chickweed will reduce the number of your fat cells. That's actually not reality. We don't, when we lose weight, get rid of fat cells. We simply reduce the amount of fat stored in our fat cells. We are able to grow new fat cells, but we don't get rid of them. We simply shrink them. So just be cautious in what you read and have some level of skepticism. Regardless, chickweed is a great plant. It's very nutritious. It has vitamin C and calcium and magnesium and lots of other nutrients in it, potassium. It's a lovely edible, very refreshing and cooling. You can toss it into salads and smoothies or juice it, but be cautious. It can have laxative effects if you overdo it, so you'll be running to the bathroom or, embarrassingly enough, maybe crap your pants. So, ease your way into this if you have not eaten it before, or if in general you've not eaten a lot of wild greens, kind of bring your way up. It can also be useful as a fresh plant tea or as medicine as a fresh plant extract, a tincture. But keep in mind when you're doing an alcohol extract, meaning ethanol, not methanol, you're not going to get those great minerals for the nutritive support, but you'll get other aspects of the plant. So getting into herb speak, chickweed is an alterative, not an alternative, an alterative, which as a general category is an herb that gradually improves health by supporting healthy waste elimination and metabolism, supporting healthy nutrient absorption. Different herbs are alternatives via different mechanisms. So for instance, chickweed is an alterative herb because it supports lymphatic system function, and among its many functions in the body, the lymphatic or lymph system acts as a vacuum cleaner. So chickweed may help with that function. Chickweed is also a mild diuretic, so it may help us get rid of wastes via the urine, via the kidneys, the urinary system. And with these fancy herb terms, these actions, chickweed is helpful for things like skin conditions, one of its major traditional uses. So it's used both internally and externally for skin stuff like eczema, itchy rashes, diaper rash, dermatitis, stuff like that. So it's very soothing on the skin. It's an emollient, so there's another herbal action for you. You can make a poultice of it and put it on an irritated spot, or make a tea of the fresh plant and use it as a wash while using it internally. It is also a vulnerary. There's another herbal action for you, meaning it will help heal skin. So one of its traditional uses was indeed for wounds. It is also an antipruritic, another fancy word, which means it helps with itching. So a really soothing plant. You can use it fresh, like I said, eaten as food or in smoothies, juiced as the various extracts that I've talked about. So other traditional uses was for bleeding, so wounds I mentioned already, musculoskeletal issues, respiratory issues, and even thyroid overactivity. And to be honest, as an herbalist, I don't have experience using it for those things. I use it for skin support, skin health. And for mild detoxifying effects. And again, that's a word I like to be careful about using when I speak of detox. In terms of chickweed, I do mean its supportive lymphatic system health, its mild diuretic effects and such. Some other potential uses for this is for healthy blood sugar regulation. This is coming back to mouse studies again, but in a diabetic model in mice, the administration of chickweed actually was able to reduce fasting blood sugar levels and HbA1c levels. So some other interesting uses for this herb to play around with. Remember, no herb is going to be a substitute for healthy eating and movement, but some of us need a little extra help there. But chickweed, so keep an eye out for this really useful wild food and weed. It might be closer than you think. Thanks for watching.